to the laptop,
Awesome.
and it defaults to the camera in the laptop, but it won't let me connect to the other one. It's weird. If I look at it, not on Jitsi, it works, but it doesn't seem to work with Jitsi. I don't know.
Try a different port.
Yeah.
I remember one time stumbling across
maybe.
stuff, but I can't remember what it was in the end. But I have seen something like that. I don't know. Maybe I just rebooted stuff. I can't remember.
Oh, well, maybe I'll try another COM port and see what happens. Another USB port and see what happens. Okay, yeah.
Hey Ken, where did you put the files? Because like the folder, I can't find it.
Oh, there should be 3 videos and 3 backups.
Yeah, but what's the folder name?
Raw videos, I think.
And it's Dropbox.
It's PARC raw videos, I think. It's not Dropbox.
No, Google Drive. Google Drive.
Google Drive. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm on Dropbox and I can't see it. And I'm going, oh my God, everything's gone. So it's okay. It's Google. Okay.
That's okay. I got my stuff backed up anyways.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. Time to get the show on the road, 7:39. So hi, everybody. I did not see any emails about presentations that anybody specifically wanted to do this evening. So this is, I think, going to be mostly around the bench kind of evening as far as talking. So unless anyone has any last minute, significant topics that they want to discuss, if so, now's the time to raise your hand. And I see no takers, so that is fine. So, Dave, yeah, you had something to share with us?
Yeah, Ken, what are the files' name? Is it October 5th and 19th? Because I see one got uploaded October 20th and the other one got uploaded October 8th. And there's a September 8th meeting too. But I think we've done that one, right?
YouTube. See what's up there.
So you guys good?
Yeah, good.
Okay. All right. I do have a couple things that I want to mention, but I'll wait maybe to the end, specifically having to do with what I brought up last time, which was the visit to the Hammond Radio Museum. So that can percolate in your mind while we have our chat this evening. So I think we will start with yourself, Ken. I've got you at the top of my screen. So what's been going on with your bench?
Absolutely nothing. Just been working on this DCR stuff with Peter and Dave. But no, not much going on.
Well, what's going on when you're working on the DCR?
Well, I'm not working on it personally.
Maybe Dave will be able to speak to that at some point, right? We have, I think, progress on our own iteration of the project, do we not?
Yeah. Well, when you get around to Dave, maybe he can share the layout of what he's come up with.
Okay, sounds good. By the way, Ken, I just got a message today that a shipment has arrived from QRP for you. So just FYI.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Cool.
All right, so it's sitting in Niagara Falls, New York right now, but I'll be bringing it over sometime in the next 2 or 3 weeks, something like that. So,
oh, you're bringing it over?
Yeah, I bring over all of Rex's kits for Canadian distribution, so I'll be hand delivering it to you. So.
Beauty.
How's that? But it will take a little while. I'm just going there like day after tomorrow to pick up parcels, so the cycle is just starting again. So it'll be, like I said, probably 3-ish weeks, something like that.
No, that's fine. No rush.
Yeah. Okay.
I ordered some of his new mini me squares.
Okay. All right.
I wanted to see what they looked like.
Okay. Sounds good. I love it when people tell me no rush. That's music to my ears. So excellent. Okay. Thanks, Ken. Peter, you are next on my screen.
Interesting how the things are all mixed up differently for everybody, eh?
Yep.
Okay, well, excuse me. I guess I've been up to a fair bit. I've finished populating the proof of concept board, the RX board for the Phoenix project. There it is there. I just finished this section off today. I've powered it up, but I haven't done any testing, so I'm hoping tomorrow that I'll have a go at that and see what happens. Pretty much straightforward so far. Well, if I forget about faux pas about how to make measurements, it's been a pretty straightforward project so far. Forgetting about how a 50 ohm load will load down a 1500 ohm impedance stuff will throw you for a loop for a day. But it's one of those things where I got to relearn lessons every once in a while. But no, it's been good so far. I took a look at the response to the crystal filter yesterday. It seems okay, although I think we can probably improve it, although that'll be for something to be done a little bit later on down the road. What else is going on with Shack? I think I was working on something else, but I can't remember what it was. I took delivery of another signal generator yesterday, which was pretty good from RCC Electronics in Toronto there at Concord. So I ordered it at about 11 o'clock in the morning on Monday, and I had it in my hands about 11:30 on Tuesday. So that was pretty good. I ran into a problem with it. I thought I was going to have to mail it back, but I kept at it for a while, and then I got a little bit of help from Michael over it. We did a little Jitsi session. I just could not get the thing to work, and then all of a sudden I could generate a sine wave, and I thought, yay, finally figured it out, but I didn't know what I did. And then, of course, it stopped working yet again. And I thought, how? So I looked at a couple of videos, read the manual, and I thought, how could something be so simple? You should be able to just push a couple of buttons, and you should be able to get an output. But I couldn't do that. Anyway, what it turned out to be is on the far left, when you go to select the frequency. On the far left, you've got capital M, capital H, Z, and on the far right of the box, it's small m, H, Z. And that was the one I was pushing. And it turns out, thank you to Michael, he says it's millihertz or something like that. I don't know why I wanted millihertz, but anyways, it was millihertz. And then when he mentioned that, I looked over to and I thought, oh yeah, there's the megahertz. So it turns out you only do have to push a couple of buttons to generate a sine wave, unless you're me. So that had me going for, actually, I bet you, I don't know what time I was talking to you, Michael. It was probably 3 o'clock. There's 3 hours or so. I was just farting around with this. Anyway, other than that, I think that's pretty much that's on the bench. I've been reviewing a couple of presentations I've done in past with LT Spice, and I think I might maybe dusting them off in the new year. And other than that, that's about it, Eric.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the updates, Peter. Dave, you are third. So what's
Do me last.
do your last? All right. Sure.
Yeah.
No problem. I hope that means you're brushing up your current status of the DCR project.
No, I'm
Presentation.
uploading videos. I'm trying to figure out how to upload videos, and I want to start it in the background.
So somebody better get long-winded then.
All right. And putting videos in our chat box, I see, designing and tuning crystal filters. So, okay, fair enough, Dave. You're at the bottom of the roster. So that would mean Al. Good evening.
Sure, on mute. There we go.
Yep.
Well, not a lot's happened in the last month. I was away for a week and a half, so down in sunny Mexico. So had a good time. In the shack, not too much going on. The trees are finally bare of leaves. So this weekend's going to be hoisting my 30-meter dipole up into the tree. Something I can't do during the season with all the leaves. So we're going to be doing that. I've done a little bit of work on my regen receiver, that 80-meter one I showed you the last time. I decided I needed a stronger audio amplifier. It was good with earbuds, but I wanted to drive a speaker. So worked up a circuit with was it a TDA 2003 integrated circuit chip, and can now drive a loudspeaker with it. So that's kind of nice. Next thing is I was snooping around the internet, and some fellows are putting digital frequency counters on these regens because the oscillator is running right at the received frequency. You can buy basically an inexpensive from AliExpress frequency counter for $15. And apparently it takes a one loop toroid transformer to pull a signal off, and a little bit of a JFET buffer amp, and then you can read the frequency direct without having to fiddle with any dials. So that's what I'm hoping to accomplish the next little while, is at least get it prototyped, and if it actually works, I'll put it into a separate case and be able to see what my regen is actually doing. Because right now I calibrated it onto a graph, so I have to look at the dial, read the dial, go to a table, see what frequency I'm on. So it'd be kind of nice to actually have a frequency readout on that. I don't think there's anything else going on in the shack. It's been kind of slow. You know what this time of year is like. It's cleaning up the yard, getting ready for winter. So once that work is all done, I think I'll be able to play more time or spend more time in the shack. Anyhow, back to you, Eric. Nothing else to report. Hello, Eric.
Okay. Thanks, Al. Does that mean that you're going to be needing your analyzer for your dipole?
Well, someday.
Because yeah, if you do need it, if you're putting your dipole up and you need to tune it, I am going to be in Mississauga tomorrow, so I could always bring it back. I honestly, I haven't quite finished with it, but if you need it,
Well, if you're still working with it, feel free to hold on to it. I actually used a nano VNA to tune it down on the ground, and then once it's up in the air, I won't be doing any more trimming. I'm just going to use my my antenna tuner to take care of any slight off tuning I have. So hold on to it and get that hustler going. Otherwise, well, you need a little bit of fire. Okay, get that thing done. I want to hear you on the air.
There you go. Yes, that's what I need, is the kick in the pants. But yeah, no, I do appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, maybe I can get the 4th month free, if I pay for 3. So, but we'll talk about that offline.
Yeah, I highly recommend the thing for anybody. You know what I use that thing mostly for is tuning up the tuner in the shack. I use it more as a piece of operating equipment rather than an analyzer, because I'm using an MFJ manual tuner rather than an auto tuner. So every time I'm firing up the HF rig, I'll just throw that in. I've got an antenna switch so that I switch over to the antenna tuner, and I quickly tune it, and it works out really well. So
how often do you find it out of tune?
Rarely, but if I have to change bands, I have to retune. It's also a good indication for me whether there's been any change in the antenna system. Maybe there's an open fault or something. Every once in a while I put it on and I have infinite SWR, which tells me something's wrong. And then usually after cleaning a couple of coax connectors or wheeling a few wires, it comes right back down again. So it's quite a useful thing as an operating tool as well.
Okay, yeah, I wouldn't mind when I do return it to you, showing me what you do with it. That would be interesting. So
sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, Al, very much. And we have Hassan. You're next on my hit list here.
Right. Okay. So what did I do? So I was visiting our office in Austin, Texas, and I was walking in one of the laboratories, and I saw a guy there with a baseball cap with his call sign on it. So we chatted for about half an hour. It was kind of neat. He asked what type of radio I had, and I told him ICOM 7300. He's like, okay. And then I mentioned I have a tube receiver, a Drake, and he was so thrilled because he's afraid of young people don't know how to use old radios. So we chatted for a long time. He told me that during the peak of the last solar cycle, he could talk to Australia with like, I don't know, 6 watts of power. So I didn't believe him. But when I got home, I hooked up my radio this weekend, and I took it to the backyard and just a short length of coax to my vertical. And I was getting amazing reception. 5 watts, I could reach Pennsylvania 5.9s. Sorry, not 5.9. And then 12 watts of power, I made a contact in Austin. And I had never done that before. It was always 30 watts or, 50. So this goes to show the coax was eating up my entire signal strength before. Either that or it's just good propagation conditions. So I was just shocked. Like I would just key up and then they'd hear me right away. And it's like, I've never had that happen before. So now that's my new project. I have to get a good piece of coax. But that's where it is right now. So that's all I have.
What are you using for a coax now?
A very short length of coax that's only like 6 feet long. So I'm just putting the antenna at in the corner of my lot, right beside the antenna.
No, I mean, like, what kind are you using? Using just some cheap old stuff that you picked up off of Eric's garage, or did you buy yourself a nice piece of RG2, like 213 or something?
I don't know what that is, but it's just a thin, cheap piece of cable, but I soldered on the connectors myself, but it's a connecting piece of coax, so it's not a long length. So that makes a difference, apparently.
Yeah, go for some RG213 or something.
All right, RG213? Okay, I'll see if I can get that from DX Engineering or something. But yeah, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I've never seen, I've never been able to bust a pileup so quickly.
And what do you consider, or what do you think is the reason for that? Was that because you had a weak signal that they wanted to pull you in?
No, one guy was saying CQ Canada, CQDX Canada. So I just responded right away. There was a contest going on. But as soon as I said it, they would come back right away, VE3, and they'd get it. They'd hear me right away. And it could be the propagation conditions, or it could be just that. I may have had an unlucky length of coax. They actually do mention you should avoid certain lengths of cables. Maybe I had just a bad one. So if I just trimmed half a wavelength off the end, it would actually be better. Recorded wavelength. So I don't know what it was, but my cabling was the issue. So if we're talking about future projects, I located my other length of copper weld antenna wire, and I've got my ladder line. So now I'm ready to put up my dipole before winter, the 133 feet dipole, all band, 80 meter all band dipole. So I should be able to get all the bands with just an antenna tuner. So I'm going to try that thing out someday. Maybe this weekend.
That'd be nice to be able to try our first of the month Monday night CW sessions, Hassan.
Oh, that'd be interesting. Yeah. I can't. I've forgotten everything about CW, so I'm going to have to really start from the basics again.
Well, I know somebody who could, be a peer for you there.
Who?
Somebody who just put up a vertical. So anyway, I haven't practiced for the last 2 or 3 weeks. I've just been too busy. So I'm starting to fall backwards again, unfortunately. But the boys at Carrick's will not be hearing me this Monday, unfortunately. So yeah, sorry.
Well, let's make contact, Eric, because we got identical antennas. So at 80 meters, it'd be a ground wave. So we should be able to reach each other.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah. Ground wave or even a near vertical, if you could, transmit a little bit, radiate up high.
so if I have a horizontal dipole and you have a vertical, can we talk close by?
Maybe if you put your dipole low to the ground.
But then it'll still come down straight vertically on your antenna. You won't receive anything.
Yeah. Peter?
Ken also has his hand up, but I'll just make a comment about crosstown kind of communications, ground wave. In Kingston here, we, as you know, we hold a lot of our every Monday night. We do a lot of different types of modes. And well, we've noticed like crosstown, Phil has a vertical and I have a horizontal. And there's a big difference between how Phil and I receive each other compared to the other guys across town that have, or further out with horizontals. So the orientation can make a difference. Having said that, if your dipole is low to the ground, like less than a quarter wave down, then most of it's going up anyways into the air. So it probably doesn't make a huge amount of difference. But generally speaking, I think, yeah, you may find to be a diminished signal, but you should still be able to hear each other.
But like a horizontal dipole going straight up, the signal comes straight down. You need another horizontal dipole to receive it. If it's a vertical, it's not going to receive. Well, maybe it does. I don't know. I mean, radios are. I don't think it should, though.
It's not going to be optimal, but close enough. We're not that far away as the crow flies, right? Was it 20, 30 kilometers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, my first intuition is, a vertical will receive another vertical, a horizontal dipole will receive another horizontal. If you're far away, it may not make a difference, but close, I don't know. I have to.
Yeah.
Well, let's try it out. Let's experiment.
Looks like we got Ken and Michael in that order that would like to comment.
Yeah, I was going to say when Hassan mentioned CW, that's what I've been doing. I've been copying CW from W1AW on recordings. So I'm starting to move into that CW region again.
Okay, very good. Ken, Michael?
Yeah, my take on this stuff is, I don't know. It's all very nice to talk about vertical versus horizontal signals, but I don't think it really matters. Horizontal antenna, vertical antenna, yeah. Really, does it really matter? I know it's supposed to, but in practice, in the real world, you're not seeing ideal conditions anyway. So
you would think
I'm
with
not so sure
reflections and bouncing and all that you're going to get scatter, right?
Well, I think that's what I think so. I mean, sure, if you have a say a 40-meter dipole up a whole bunch of wavelengths, it's and it's it's a horizontal dipole, then somebody else with a horizontal dipole also equally high up or whatever, you get a great signal. And if you try to use a vertical, the signal strength is down. But I have really crappy antennas here, and I'm getting out to Papua New Guinea and places like that with really crappy antennas that are really close to the ground. So I don't know. I'm not so sure it's all what it's made out to be. In theory, it's right, but in practice, with buildings around and houses and trees and whatever, and the antennas close to the ground, I don't think it really matters. It seems to work, put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, I got 1,000 square foot metal roof on the barn right beside my vertical. I'm sure that does change the angle of propagation. So.
Yeah. Anyway, my thought.
Yeah. Peter.
Another thing to take note. Well, first off, I think you will notice a difference, but between the two different types of antennas. But the other thing as well, I believe, every time your signal takes a hop, a bounce off the ionosphere, it changes. Polarization can change. So, if you're just talking across town, that's one thing. But when you're starting to talk of, DX or long hauls, it probably makes no difference because your signal's changing orientation anyway.
Yeah, I'm puzzled about that too. I haven't quite figured out how the polarization changes with. I guess if you see these plane waves coming, either you see the electric field look like an accordion pointed upwards or sideways. So, but I've never ever had this problem with, like, I don't check the polarization on DX signals. I just, maybe it, I don't know what's going on there. Should we be concerned about this? Like, TV signals are polarized horizontally. AM radio is polarized vertically, and so usually you point those antennas one way. But have you ever heard this thing where hams with vertical antennas can't talk to hams with dipoles?
Well, I'll comment. I mean, it's not a question you can't or you can. It's a question of if your signal is, say, horizontally polarized and the guy who's receiving you or you're communicating with is vertically polarized, then the signal strength will probably be down compared to if you were communicating with another guy with a horizontally polarized antenna. That's all. And that's what we see here in the Kingston area when we do our Monday night things is the guys with different polarized antennas, the signals are down compared to the other guys with the similar polarized antennas. That's all. And then, like I said earlier, the other thing is when your signal's hopping across the ionosphere and then bouncing up and again up from the ground, you're changing polarization anyway. So by the time it gets to the DX station, or depending how far out you are, of course, it makes no difference. You don't know what way it's going to be coming at you, horizontal or vertical, makes no difference. So it's just a theoretical thing, but there is some difference.
Why don't people make tunable antennas that can have changeable polarizations?
Well, that'd be a pretty funky looking antenna roller, changing it from a vertical to a horizontal back pretty darn quick.
Yeah.
Having said that, satellite communication guys use two different antennas. One,
Oh yeah, they do circular polarization. So the polarization is always rotating. So it doesn't matter about the orientation. They get peak signal sometime or another. And if it's a helical antenna, that's the best for receiving those things. So yeah, I think this is one of those things I want to dive into someday because I don't quite fully understand it yet. I need to convince myself with an experiment or something. Maybe we should do that.
Dave, you wanted to comment?
Yeah, first of all, polarization. Peter's right. Doesn't matter what polarization you're, as long as you bounce off the atmosphere. Every time you bounce off, your polarization changes, and it's not a given fixed amount. So it's not as if it's going to rotate 90 degrees. It may rotate 4 degrees. This time it may rotate 10 degrees. So it's always changing polarization. Between you and Eric, I don't think you guys are going to get ground wave. And someone correct me if I'm wrong, but they're like 50-ish kilometers apart. I don't think ground wave goes 50 kilometers. I think that's envious. I think the only way you and Eric are going to talk, it's got to go up and it's got to bounce. So you have to get your antenna to warm clouds. So it'll go straight up and bounce and come back. And within that 50 kilometer area, you're gonna hit them. Now, in terms of just forget about polarization, vertical versus horizontal. I had both up in Calvin. I had a 3-element Yagi that was a horizontally polarized HF antenna. It was 20, 10, and 15, right? And then I had a vertical sitting on top of that, and that was a 5-band all the way from 20 to 10, and I've got that here at my house. Now, I used to compare those antennas all the time, and the Yagi, even though that was like a gain, it's got lobes, it was only a little bit more I would get signal going out from that versus my vertical. The vertical I had, it was amazing. That R5 I've got was just amazing because my Yagi only performed a little bit better than that, but the vertical, like that's what I used most of the time. It was really really good. And coming back to you, but your thing about AM and TV, that's line of sight. I don't think that bounces off the atmosphere. So I think you may get some kind of bending because TV would tropo, because I think that's near 6 meters, right? And so with 6 meters, you get the tropo ducting and all that other stuff, which is bending it. I don't think it's a reflection. I don't know, but I think it's two completely different beasts.
You're right about that. TV is VHF and UHF, but AM is ground wave. It's less than 2 megahertz is ground wave. It can go thousands of kilometers. So like it hugs the ground because the ground reflects it enough. But yeah, to your other point, did you have an HF Yagi or what type of Yagi was it?
That's why I said it was an HF Yagi. It was 10, 15, and 20 meters.
It must have been huge.
Yeah, it was huge. It had a rotator, and I used that and the vertical all the time. And it was
Wow.
kind of interesting. Edmundo was using that antenna, and he was less than a kilometer away from me, maybe a kilometer. And that was when I first got on the air, and I never had any interference from him on my radio. And he was putting out significant power. He had the Yagi, he had the vertical, he had dipoles, and that was a kilometer away. I never got any kind of interference from him.
Wow.
Well, Hassan, I just drew the line. We're 34 kilometers apart, so I think we need to put this to the test once you got yours up.
Sounds good.
Yep. That was it. Did anyone else? Al, did you have your hand up earlier, or you dropped it?
I did. I dropped it because I
Okay.
think Dave and Peter answered
Answered
my
it.
questions. I was just going to comment. Line of sight is typically 15 nautical miles, curvature of the Earth, really. So I think you're probably looking at near or NVIS. You're going up to the ionosphere. I think you're going to get some phase rotation, and probably doesn't matter what type of antenna you've got, horizontal or vertical.
Especially because I'm very high up, so I mean, once
Yeah.
you get past a single row of trees, I can see the entire GTA from Oakville to Ajax, basically.
Well,
so.
then you might get away with line of sight.
Yep. Yep. So.
In which case, then polarity probably does have an effect, I imagine.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So
Wayne's got his hand up.
Sorry?
Wayne has got his hand up.
Oh yeah, Wayne. Sorry, there you are. Saw it. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, and kind of responding to some of the comments of where the ground wave might apply. It's I've been reading about this and for another project that I was working on, and my understanding is the ground wave is principally medium wave and lower, and during the daytime only. So the very long distances that AM radio can travel is actually a nighttime thing when it's bouncing off the ionosphere like the higher frequencies are. And the distances then in the chat that Peter put there is a special case of medium and low waves traveling over the ocean. They will go very far and deep, but over ground, they tend to peter out. It's, I think, like 300 kilometers or so. That's it.
Okay. Thanks, Wayne. All right, Michael. You are next on my list. What's been going on in your tinkering bench?
Oh, I don't know. I've been. I did a presentation to the Peel Club, to the Mississauga Club, the same one I did on the NanoVNA for you guys, and that was last week, and that seems to have gone over okay. But I've been busy, sort of non-radio stuff. We have about 20 boxes of 35 millimeter slides, and I've been scanning them using my digital scanner, and that takes a long time, over a minute per slide, and I've got 20 boxes, so I've got 1,000 or so stuff to do. But radio-wise, I've been I moved. Talking about antennas, I have a DXB here, and it hangs from my tower, which is 30 feet, and it was going over the neighbor's backyard. The end of the antenna was about, I don't know, 10 feet off the ground or something. So a couple of weeks ago, Daniela and I moved it. So now it goes over the house, sort of towards the tree in the front yard. And as an anti-squirrel device, I used clothesline, steel core, plastic coated clothesline to hold it up, because the squirrels had eaten away my 40-meter dipole Dacron twice. So that I'll get those little buggers anyway. So that they haven't cut it down yet. But interestingly, the reason I did it was because I've got DXCC on everything except 80. I've only had only about 24 countries on 80. And within 2 weeks, I had up to 38. So that's pretty good. And that's just just moving the antenna. So that I was quite pleased about that. Talked about the Nano VNA presentation. I've been fiddling around trying to make sure I understand dBm versus voltage. I sort of got that solidified in my mind. And that leads me to another thing. This SDG 1032 signal generator that I have and now Peter has. You look at there's supposedly a dBm setting. You can measure dBm with it, but it turns there's nothing in the manual. There's a 100-page manual, absolutely nothing about how to do that. Turns out that what you have to do is set it up to make it look like it's make it think it's a 50, transmitting into a 50 ohm load. Then this dBm tab magically appears when you put you set the amplitude, but there's nothing in the manual. A bit frustrating because it took a long time to figure that out. Can't find anything on the internet about it or at all, so I don't know. And so I've been also fiddling around with my spectrum analyzer. The idea, what I wanted to do was, now that I know how to get low voltage signals, I thought, well, okay, I can put those into the spectrum analyzer, which I did with Peter's help. Some of it yesterday, some of it today, and now I sort of know how to do that. And the other thing I've been working on is this presentation that I'm going to do in December. So I got a whole month and a half to procrastinate on the Colpitts oscillator, and I've got as far as plagiarizing from one of the websites. There's a YouTube video. I'm basically going to present that, but I sort of got that partially figured out by the time I'm going to have it all done. And the other thing I'm going to do is compare my spectrum analyzer to the Tiny SA that I also have and have never really used. Do a presentation on that in the new year. So anyway, that's sort of where I am aside from DXing. I've been Papua New Guinea's around, Togo's around, a few places. So I've been in Djibouti, been playing around with that. So that's really what I've been up to. Anyway, so that's all.
Okay, thanks, Michael. Dwayne, how are things down south for you there?
Hey, I got my hand up.
Oh, I did hear that little blink too. Sorry, Dwayne. Just bear with us for a moment.
Can I go ahead?
Yeah, please, Peter.
I just want to make a follow-up with...
okay, that's enough. Yeah.
I can kick you out here, by the way. I just want to follow up with what Michael was saying about selecting the dBm as the units. Yeah, now that I'm used to using dBm, it's a must. So it turns out on the selection on that SignalGen, where you can select RMS, peak to peak, peak voltage, that kind of thing, there's a blank space there. so they could easily put the DBM selection in there. So I think I'll send an email off to Jason over the next day or so and just see how receptive they are to suggestions for a change in their firmware. And if they don't want to do it, then I'll sick Dave on them.
Okay. All right, Dwayne. Finally, now it's your turn.
Okay. Haven't been doing too much electrical home brewing. Most of it has been the liquid type lately. For the electrical type, been following the Vienna Wireless Society and their direct conversion receiver. They've just about finished that project up. A lot of the stuff that you see in solder smoke is stuff related to their meetings, their project, and some of the stuff that's come out of it. Lately, Bill has been joining us every. Well, it works out. Their meetings are also on Wednesday, but they're every other Wednesday from these meetings. So Wednesdays are pretty much tied up for me as hitting meetings. I'm kind of thinking about going and just taking what I've got out of the direct conversion receiver, do a little bit of stuff, and see about turning it into a double sideband transceiver instead of just a receiver. And that's about it.
Okay. I wonder if that would have any overlap with our DCR project, you know? Maybe we can talk about that one day.
Depends upon what you're using to generate it. The one in the Vienna Wire Society, they're basically using a diode double balance mixer, and which basically is bidirectional, so you don't have to worry about that. You can basically just go and feed a mic amp into it instead of the taking the audio output of it to feed into an audio amp, and then just do a little bit of switching into either a receive preamp filter or a transmit buffer.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thanks for the update, Dwayne. What's going on? All right. Next would be Wayne. You're
Okay. Well, for me, I've been having a string of sort of failed attempts to build tuned amplifiers, which to sum it up, I was having trouble getting the appropriate level of Q factor, the tightness of the skirts of the filters I was building. So that led me to spend a lot of time trying to study to learn what it is I wasn't actually doing right. And a kind of a side effect from that study is I wanted to be able to measure the Q factor of resonators in my lab. And Q meters are not the sort of thing that you can grab every day anymore. They don't make them. So I spent some time studying different techniques that are available to me through the internet. I got some from Wes Hayward and a couple other hams. And I went through them and I've sort of categorized them and written them up. So I can bring that back in. What I can say is if you're thinking of ever building one of those Q meters that you can find the circuits for, that's totally unnecessary. It's highly likely that everybody in this circuit, if you need to understand how to measure Q, you've already got enough gear in your lab to do that. And so that's where I am. I've actually got my notes together, so I wouldn't mind bringing part of it back, because one of them was the ring down method. I think I mentioned 2 meetings ago, which is just fabulously kooky. I'd really like to show it. That's it.
okay. Thanks, Wayne. Peter had his hand up, but just one mention totally unrelated to what you were discussing, but we're getting a bit of knocking noise throughout your talk there, so I'm not sure what's going on.
That's me.
Sounds like there's something just physically knocking against something else, right?
That's physically me. Like I'm, the way this thing is set up is I've got a keyboard under my desk, and I keep wrapping the mouse on it. That's being microphoned into the into my camera speaker. So I'm sorry about that.
Oh,
I
okay.
have to keep my hands in the air like this when I'm talking, or you'll hear me making a knocking noise.
Yeah, it's still coming through. So yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Thanks.
Quickly, my
Ken.
feet, sorry.
I was trying to troubleshoot there, Ken, so that's why I muted you there. But got your message. 10-4. Okay. Thank you very much, Wayne. Peter, you had a question.
No, but I have a comment. It's interesting, Wayne, that you bring up a Q meter. There was I forget which group IO it was, some homebrew test equipment groups IO. Anyway, there's a huge thread on there. They're talking about where they're going through the exercise of homebrewing a Q meter. Now, I didn't read any of it, so I'm not too sure exactly the what and wheres and what's going on with it. But it did grab my attention there. So, but I haven't given it too much thought, other than I thought it might be a handy thing to have. But I have no idea how to implement it or how it would work, or et cetera, et cetera. Of course, this all started up again. Talking about the Q values when I started to match crystals with the SNA, and started talking about the Q factor there. And of course, now it's front and center. Anyway, that's it.
Okay. All right. My screen got rearranged a little bit here when I went off grid, but I believe it was Frank who is up next on my former round here. So what's going on down your way?
Well, thank you. And I've been kind of still busy with my 15 meter QRP rig. I like to comment a bit about Hazan's experience on the air, and what he was experiencing is the magic of me. So being a QRP enthusiast, I had to add that comment. This is what I'm working on. I have been working on it since May and still haven't solved all the problems. It's out of its case, and that's how I have to troubleshoot it, because when it goes in the case, it's kind of a tight fit. And of course, I can't get at the bottom of the board itself. So in doing that, this is the case, by the way. And at the bottom, you'll find what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 standoffs, which the case is the ground plane, and the board is etched so that not all of the grounding, I don't think, are joined on the board itself. So it has to be in the case to really work. And what I'm fighting with that is that there's definitely a 60 cycle AC being picked up through the circuit, and it's driving me crazy. So other than that, the output of it, that was the main reason why I took it off the shelf. I built this thing, I don't know, 20 years ago, and took it back to figured, oh, well, with what I know now, I can get the output up over a couple of watts and get it up to 5 watts. Well, I finally did that, and we got the output, but coupled with the 60 cycle, it's kind of a horrible thing that I wouldn't want to put on the air. So what I've got to do now is I've got to fit this in the case, so these 5 binding posts ground it. And the problem is I don't have a proper variable capacitor. It's a 50 pico capacitor, and it has to be physically the dimensions that was back in the original design. If anyone knows a company that is still selling variable capacitors, I would certainly be interested in that. Other than that, and I'm pretty close to either throwing it at the wall or shelving it to get on to some other projects. So that's my status of the QRP 15.
Oh, so I just have one comment. Could you just hold that board up again with the component side facing us, Frank?
The component side, yeah.
Yeah, just facing the camera, please, just for a moment. Yeah, you know what? It's coming up to Christmas. That would look really nice at the top of your tree, I think. Although, really, in its current state,
Oh, that's a good.
yeah. I'd say, though, in its current state, looks more like something out of Halloween, but unfortunately, that's just past. So, anyway, very good, Frank. So, what bands?
15 meters.
50 meters as well. Okay. All right. Very good. Dave, you had your hand up.
And up she goes to the top of the tree.
Hey, Frank, you made me laugh a couple of times.
Yeah.
You know, you exactly what I feel about the projects I work on. I think 90% of them, I want to throw them against the wall. But you get all of a sudden,
Yeah.
you go away and you come back and you get a breakthrough, and all of a sudden you get it working. And I think that's come back to your point about the magic of QRP, is that, or the magic of building. All of a sudden you get something that's been a thorn in your side and it's working, and all of a sudden you just get a rush from like doing that. But what I was going to say, I was going to comment about 60 hum. I don't know if this is relevant, Frank, but I remember one of the first kits I built was a rock mite, and that was plagued with 60 hertz hum. And there was you had to put like 100 micro, like a really honker of a electrolytic capacitor, and I can't remember if it was at the power supply, but you had to put it somewhere to get rid of that 60 hertz hum, because it's such a low frequency. You need a honker of a capacitor to filter it out. Because if you look at power supplies, they use like 1,000 microfarads and to filter out that stuff, right?
Right. Well, I've tried that and several other things. As I say, I think the next thing is to try and put it in the case so we have everything possible grounded all the way around, and that might work. Anyway, it's going on up on the shelf for a little while because I'm getting way behind on some of the other chores that need to be done around here. So before all hell breaks loose, I think I better give it a pause. And maybe when I take it back in a month or so, the magic will appear, and I'll luckily find the answer to it.
Well, not so fast, Frank. You got 3 people with boxing gloves on lined up. So, Peter, you're first.
Okay. Couple comments. One is along the lines of project frustration. If my projects worked every single time I built them first time out, I would never learn anything. But having said that, I wish at least once in a blue moon a project would work the very first time I built the first time out, because like everybody, like the comments, you get so frustrated with this stuff. You wonder why sometimes I want to take up knitting. That's how frustrating it gets out. The other thing too, Frank, if you're going to toss it against the wall, make sure you're videotaping that one. And when you put it on top of your Christmas tree, please take a picture of that. I like to see that. That's it for me. Thanks.
Okay.
All right. Michael.
Yeah. It seems, Frank, I think a couple of years ago, I saw there's a place around somewhere that will build variable caps for you. I think I have the website somewhere on my computer. I'll have to have a look if I can find it. I'll let you know, or post it to the group. It was I'm not sure what size they were, but the standard the 365 microfarad capacitor type style that this company made, I think, and you could ask them what size you wanted, and they'd build it for you. So I don't know. I'll have to see if I can find it. Anyway, if I can find it, I'll let you know, or I'll post it.
Well, thank you very much. This one is 50 pico, and I've looked at various sites like the Wireless Society and stuff like that, but I haven't come up with anything yet. So, but I'll keep looking around, and look forward to your posting.
If I can find it, yeah.
Okay. Ken, and then Peter right afterwards.
Go ahead, Peter. I got my questions answered.
I was going to say, hey, Al has a full-blown metal shop in his garage. I'm sure he'd love to take a challenge on building a variable capacitor.
Stranger things have happened. Frank, do you have dimensions of that 50 puff? I've got a couple old Hammerlands that are 50 puff kicking around. Maybe it'll fit.
Frank, you're muted. Frank, you're muted. There you go.
Hang on. Let me grab something here. I have. Is this it? No. No. Whoop. No. No, I don't. The one I'm using there is not a fit at all. It's 50 picofarad, and electrically it works. But the one that I had originally was the right dimension. I'll have to measure it and post the dimensions.
Sure, I'll go look at my junk box and maybe I'll send you the dimensions of what I've got. I picked up a couple of these.
Okay, thank you.
What's that place? Electronic Surplus Industries with was it Sid Liptowich? He's got a selection of them in his junk pile, so I'll see what I've got and let you know.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, and Frank, I think Wayne had the last comment here.
Well, basically, I was going to ask the same questions Al did. I have a selection of smallish variable capacitors. I'll have a look, and I'll do the same. If I find any 50 puffs, I'll send them out. I'll send it, and I'll put something in the group email to let you know what dimensions I got.
Okay, I'll measure it and let you know.
Okay, thanks, Frank. And good evening, Howard. I think you are the penultimate on my screen here.
Hello. Haven't been doing much, just gathering up the final components for the SDR project and doing a bit of getting familiar with FFT on the oscilloscopes for down the road when I have to tune the PA section for it. So that's pretty well what I've been doing.
Okay. That is great. Thank you very much, Howard. We will move on to Dave if you are ready to go. Finished uploading?
Yeah. All the YouTube videos are now available on the channel. Hey, does anyone know how to hide this stupid bar in Jitsi at the bottom? The one that's mute and share your camera and raise your hand to make that. Does anyone know? It's annoying.
I think if you take your mouse,
Move your cursor all the way up to the top.
The what?
Don't move your mouse; it'll drop out of view.
Do you have multiple multiple monitors? Because if you put your mouse on the other extended display, it'll disappear.
No, mine never goes away.
Unless
It
you have your
never goes
chat
away.
box open, and then in which case it's always there. So
I do have the chat box open.
yeah,
Maybe, there it goes.
Yeah,
you're right. I got it. Okay. Yeah. So I've been working on a lot of things. Been working on my robot. I got ultrasonic sensors on it, and I'm trying to get that working. So that's one of my projects. The other one is I'm working on that's the board Peter's working on. That's the receiver proof of concept Phoenix receiver board. So that's what Peter's working on. I've got the power amp board. It's fully populated, and I've been putting it through its paces. And on 40 meters, it works amazing. Like 40 and 80, it just works amazing. Then it shits the bed above 20 meters. It just, excuse my French, this is being recorded. It poos the bed above 20 meters. So I'm just trying to figure out what's going on there. And I think, because it's based on my talks that I gave about power amps. So I'm using what I learned there to try and get the power amp to work properly. So that's ongoing. I'd bring the board that I've got built, but it's wired up to my SIGGEN and Spectrum Analyzer and everything else. What else am I working on? The DCR. And what I'll do is let me just, I think you guys said to show the PCB. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep, that's right. Looks good.
So here's the schematics for it. These are just some footprints in text that I had to use. So these ugly footprints here, these ugly schematic symbols, is what I had to import for. This is for the audio jack, and I'm hearing hands going up. So I can't see who's talking, who's raising their hands.
I've got it, Dave.
So that's the BNC connector. That's the audio jack. That's just a symbol it comes with. That's the power supply jack. There's the SMA jack. So this is the current iteration of the DCR receiver. It's got a front end QRP filter, the 612 mixer, the Gilbert cell mixer, and the LO coming in here with a pad, and it's coming out. This capacitor took me a while to figure out what it's for, because it's 100 nano to ground, and I'm going, why the hell would Ken put 100 nano to ground? And then I realized that's to short RF. It's a RF short. So any mixed harmonics from this that's RF gets shorted to ground, and this will only allow audio. So it's kind of like a poor man's audio filter there. And volume control coming through to the LM386 and output, pretty standard. And here's the board I've developed. Ken, I've got both the power supply jack, the SMA for the LO, and the BNC for the antenna, all at the back. And then I've got the volume control, and I've got the audio jack at the front. Okay, it took me a while to figure this out, because this is a stock symbol. I didn't make it, but whoever created this symbol should be shot. They went and they made this part here part of the silk screen. So if I was to put this part here, I would get errors. This would not work. The fab would reject this. The fab house would reject this, because it would show silk screen coming off the board. So I had to change the layer, go in and edit the footprint for that. But that's as the PCB looks now. It's 50 9 millimeters by 97 millimeters. As long as it's 100 by 100, you could get 5 boards for like $7. So this is nice and cheap. So the next step is once we've validated the footprints for especially the power jack, the BNC connector, the volume, the pot, and the audio jack. Once we've validated, those are the exact parts, the footprints for the parts, and the SMA connector. I'll send the board away. I'll get 5 boards made, and hopefully we can get a volunteer for someone who would build this and test it for us. So that's kind of where it's at. Let me shut down sharing.
Don't shut down sharing.
Yeah, but then I can't see if people are mocking me.
So Dave Peters, since Peter's already unmuted, he is the first on your comment.
Okay, so go back to your schematic, Dave. See, I told you not to.
See, now I can see people mocking me.
Okay, put your schematic back up on the screen, please.
He doesn't listen to me
You're
either.
annoying. Wait, to where? Oh,
Other way.
what did I just do?
Don't hang up.
You stop sharing to start off with.
It's hard.
There, okay, there.
Okay, so
Okay, show what?
your schematic.
Yeah,
Okay, now you see on the upper left-hand corner, you've got the power flag marked on the ground.
yep,
And then I know about, and if you go over halfway, not quite halfway over the page down on C5, you got the power flag there on the
Yep.
cap point of ground. Can you explain that to me, please? How to use that power flag?
because what happens in KiCad takes a crap if you've got an input and an output that's not connected. So it sees these input, like it's got to have inputs and outputs connected unless you've got a power flag. If you've got a power flag saying this is a power supply place, it ignore those rules. Because if you go up here to your design, electrical design rules, okay, there is a rule. You'll see I get no errors. But if I remove that power flag, I'll get errors.
Okay, I was wondering if that's what it was, Dave, because I never did explore, because I always get those errors, of course, because I didn't know how to use the power flag. So when I saw that on the schematic, I thought, I wonder if that's what it is. So hence the question. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I get my design rules. I make sure before I send anything away, I get 0 errors, nothing. So
Well, I think if you have an error, the board house will reject it, I think.
Well, they could, or they could print it and it doesn't come out the way you want it.
Yeah.
Like one of the key things that's really nice here that KiCad does, like for example, if I've got this here, come on. Like, okay, if I move, that's a bad example. Let me move. Is this stupid grid nonsense? Yeah, the grid here is so small. No, but if I'll just exaggerate it. If the silk screen crosses another silk screen like that and I run it, I'll get an error telling me, it should come back and see it. I get a ton of errors saying the silk screen is overlapping, right? So that's kind of really nice. And it's got a little arrow telling me where it is. So that's kind of nice because it makes your silk screen come out really nice. Now I got to adjust this stupid grid. It wasn't doing that before, but yeah, anyway. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
You got the 3D model there as well?
Yeah. Now it skews the board. It makes the board look like it's not square or rectangular. See, it kind of makes it look as if the edges it makes it look, the board looks as if it's twisted as well. But that's just the way it's rendering the image.
Perspective view.
What's the name of the software?
It's KiCad, however you want to pronounce it.
Okay, thanks.
And you can see here where, right here, the silk screen comes off of the board. Well, it's the fab. It's a keep out zone, right? So that when you're manufacturing or when you're making the board, they put a border around it, and that's where you keep out. You don't put parts within there. It's a keep out zone. So they had kind of the keep out zone part of the silk screen, which is what you're seeing here. All these numbers, the little lines, the little marking, that's all part of the silk screen. Okay.
Okay, Michael had a question for you there, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think seems to me I asked this question before, and I think Ken answered it. The schematic diagram in KiCad. What I want to do is if I'm building something, I'd like a nice looking schematic diagram, better than LT Spice does. Yeah, So this is actually KiCad, isn't it? The schematic. Yeah. You drew this out and placed the parts yourself, and you got all these nice components like the resistors, obviously, and the amplifiers and whatnot. It's all part of KiCad, right? It just comes out. So you join them together, and these little access points, the same thing, right? That's what I want to be able to do.
The QRP filter, I had to do that by hand. I had to create my own symbol and my own footprint for that.
But you can do things like inputs and outputs, like these things here in the middle, and
all
that.
And that's all,
it just comes out that way.
That's all
so
part
it's a really
of
the
good check.
So that's it's a really good thing to know how to do. I'm gonna have to try that. Okay.
Yeah, and I can't remember. There's a way you look at the rules, because I had to go look at the rules to try and, because I was getting some really wonky errors, and I had to go and look at the rule to see what it was generating. And there's a way you could look at the rules. I can't remember where it is, but there's you could go and list all the rules.
Okay.
The preferences or wherever it is.
Okay, thanks. Something to try sometime.
Yeah, and the other really cool feature I like about this, all these CAD programs do it. All of them do it. Is that what you could do is you can have hierarchical schematics, right? Where you have, you could drill down. So that's your mixer section. That's your, what's that? That's the power amp section. Here's the bandpass preamp section. And so these are modular. You could copy and paste them onto another schematic. So that's kind of cool.
Hey, Peter, go ahead, please.
I think Wayne was first.
Oh, I missed you, Wayne. Sorry.
You're mute.
Yeah, Wayne.
Can I stop sharing?
Still muted, Wayne.
How about now?
There you go.
Yeah, I guess I need glasses now. Definitely look like I muted myself. Listen, Dave, some of your footprints on the 3D model didn't show the 3D model rep.
They didn't import. Those parts don't have a 3D because you have to have a 3D image of it, and those parts didn't have a 3D image.
Here's what I can say about that. Sometimes KiCad does have them shipped. It's in your base thing, but you have to make the connection between the footprint. Do you know about this, or like I've done this for like once? It's technically possible to associate an existing 3D model to a footprint if you want to do that.
Have you ever used Snap Ada? If you go to Snap Ada, here, let me share my screen, because a lot of these footprints came from Snap Ada. Right? Where's my thing here? Yeah, you can see my screen here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So if you go to Snap Ada and you put in a part, right? There's a part SA6128AD. It come on, frig off.
Oh yeah, I've used this before.
Yeah, and so it comes in, and if you select the part, it'll tell you if it's got a 3D model. See, like here it says 3D model not available, right? So a lot of these parts came from Snap Ada, didn't come from KiCad. But I hear what you're saying, especially around capacitors, because that's a stock component.
Yeah, and I think there's a barrel connector, for example, for the DC plug sitting in KiCad somewhere. You know, if you need any help trying to see if that actually is true or not, let me know. It's been a while since I've done messing around with this.
Oops, let me stop sharing here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And the problem is, Wayne, is that as part of this build, the parts have already been selected. So it's not I'm selecting the parts. They've got a parts list, and I have to go and put that part on there. And so I have to find a footprint to match that part, because it's also driven by price. You know, we're trying to keep the price of the parts down. So if I was to go and select a native KiCad,
no, hang on, I'm not saying that. Seriously, what I'm saying is within KiCad, you can associate an existing 3D model to any footprint that you choose to. So should there be a previously existing 3D model, you can connect it to the part that you just brought in.
Right.
If you want to.
Right. Yes, as long as you know what that footprint is.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you know what the desired footprint is, right?
Correct.
Like for the pot, that's what I did. I found, because the footprint Ken gave me, I got it in Snap Ada, and then as I was browsing through the footprints in KiCad, I found a native one. So I was able to link the pot symbol to that native footprint, right? Now, in terms of the 3D model for that, I have no idea how to link that.
Okay, so I've done that once.
Yeah.
There's a thing you can do if you're interested. I'd have to look it up, but you can bring in. It's really hard to make new models. That's why you don't see very many of them. But I was surprised at once when I discovered that there were 3D models already in KiCad that were not linked to footprints that they worked with, and so you if you can find them, you can do that.
Yeah, now that you say that, that is odd, because all the 1206 capacitors and resistors don't have a 3D model, and they're stock components. So now that you're saying that, I could see that.
Okay.
Or I can understand it or appreciate it.
I'll let Howard go because Peter's spoken quite a bit already tonight. So, Howard?
Oh, okay. I thought Peter was first.
He was, but, you know. Go ahead, Howard.
It's just a quick question, Dave. If you wanted to create a test point on PCB board with KiCad or KCAD, can you specify the size of the hole?
You muted, Dave.
Yeah, they've got, if you go to symbols, I think there's a power package. They have got test points in there, and they've got stock test points. You just got to go and look and see what footprint it's associated with. In this package, as Wayne said, you could take a model and you could associate that with any footprint you want. So you could even take that model and let's just say it's a mixer, it's a dip, you could associate that with a 1206 capacitor and it'll take it. It'll just, the pinout won't be right. But
okay.
you could associate a symbol with like anything,
Okay.
right? So come back to your question. Yes, you could associate that test point with a whole bunch of footprints. You just got to go look at the footprints. The other thing I do is I just use a single pin header. So I just, like a breakaway header,
Right.
those breakaway headers you get. Like these. Right? That's one with really long legs, but it breaks away, right? And so
Right.
you snap it and you could get one of those. And so there is a symbol for a one pin header. And so you just take that, solder it in, and you could clip your probe to that. And that's what I did on my boards as test points.
I came across these test points that have a little loop in them.
Yeah. Yeah. They may have it. You could check and see. And the nice thing is, like, if you go over to Snap Ada, that website, and there's another one Ken found. If you go over there and you type in, you could search, and they've got tons of footprints and symbols. And the nice thing about Snap Ada is that it goes into almost any CAD program. Eagle, Dip Trace.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes, Peter, your turn.
I don't want to talk anymore.
Eric, kick him out.
Fat chance. Fat
See
chance.
if I can focus this in. I think maybe, Howard, is this the kind of the footprint you're talking? It's hard to see, I guess.
Yeah, it's a little blurry, but it has that little bent wire with a little insulator, and then it ends up being a loop when you put it through the hole.
This is actually just like a little rectangle loop.
Yeah.
Metal. And if you think you're going to be a little bit rough, that's not a bad one to put on the board. I've done both. Like I've done what Dave has done, take a pin header to put around for test points, but I've also started to use some of these little loops because you saw it's got a good grip to the PCB, and it takes a little bit more abuse. I guess it depends on how how much testing you think you're going to do on a board. But like Dave says, there's in KiCad, there's a whole section there for test points, and then you just pick the appropriate footprint, whatever measurement it is by the one that you have. Yeah, there it is. Now, the other thing I was just going to suggest, I haven't done it before, but I know, Dave, you've used it on a couple of different programs, but it would be nice to have a little KiCad presentation on how to set up hierarchical sheets. That's it for me. Thanks.
And there's a way here. No, it's not through this. You have to go here. Yeah, this. No, that's not.
You got to go to the footprint. You got to go to associate footprints, whatever it's called.
Oh yeah. It's telling me I got to annotate it first,
Yeah.
so because it's got to get it. Yeah, this is what I wanted to. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Well, you're breaking up, but we can hear you.
Okay, yeah, I was just gonna show Howard that there,
I think you're blowing up your computer, Dave.
a footprint with that circle or rectangular, what Peter's talking about. Yeah, this thing is slow. Because I've also put in the DigiKey library here. So if we go down to test point, here it is there. So if I click on that and I say, I can't remember which one. No, there's one of these you turn on. I could never remember which one it is.
Under your footprint libraries, Dave, there might be something in there that's in one of those connectors like that. It'll have test points.
No, there's one of these filters here. You use the filter, and it tells you what are the matching footprints. Oh, this is toggle. You can only toggle one or the other. Oh, here, select footprint by pin count, filter footprint list by library. Yeah, there it is. Filter footprint list by footprint filter defined in the symbol. So this is the one you want. You don't want that. And this is all the footprints. So if you come down here, I don't know if it's got a test point. Here, test point plated. How do you view it? There's a way you view it. Yeah,
on the top
there
third.
it is. So it's not showing you. Yeah, so it's not showing you the 3D outline of it. Let's see if we could. There's the 3D. No, see, so it's not giving you 3D. It's just showing it as a whole. So, but anyway, I just wanted to show you that you could select different test points. Oh, here's loop. Here you go. Here's the loop. Here you go. 2.5 millimeter, 1.8. So 2.5, that's so if you look at that, and hopefully we get a, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's the one.
There you go. So they've got it. That's a native KiCad footprint, right? Right. So there you go.
All right,
So you've got an option. There are lots of, this thing is, it's got so much stuff that you get paralyzed trying to figure out how to use the stupid thing.
Too many options.
I'm just gonna make a comment here, Howard. There's several of us that are using KiCad. So if you're looking to start using a PCB or a program, I would suggest you use KiCad because there's like I say, there's several of us that are using it now.
Well, that's a good idea.
And it's
I've
free.
used Eagle, Dip Trace, now KiCad, and they're all pretty much KiCad. At first, it was kind of annoying because you had to manually go and assign footprints to your symbols. Products like Eagle and Dip Trace does that for you automatically. When you select a symbol, right? They have you select a symbol, and the symbol has got different footprints. So you're selecting the symbol and the footprint at the same time.
By the way, I think version 7 for KiCad is going to be ready for, I think, in December. Can't remember now.
DipTrace is a paid program, though, right, Dave?
No, it's free up to, I can't remember, 1,000 pins or 500 pins. As long as you've got like 500 pins, it's fine. And I used that for years and years and never had a problem. And then with the D612, I ran over that and I had to pay to get the next version out. So I've got a paid license for DipTrace. I like it.
Yeah,
it's really easy to use, and creating footprints is trivial.
But KiCad's free and wide open and actively supported.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Dave. Kevin, I see you've joined us. Good evening. Came in partway through the meeting. I'm not sure exactly when, but you snuck in. So, are you there? KC2TXO. No, maybe he's stepped away. Okay. All right. Well, I think that brings us to the conclusion of the meeting. So I did put a poll up. I don't know if anyone noticed that or not, but if you slide over to your chat window, you'll see a poll there, just an informal to try and figure out when a good time to visit the Hammond Radio Museum there in Guelph. I mentioned it at last week's meeting, I believe it was. So they're happy to host us. Either of those times or rough time frames work. So if you want to put your vote down there, you can start figuring out a day to visit. They're pretty much open, I think, any Saturday or Sunday. And we've got basically the next couple weekends, or December is probably a write-off for most people trying to coordinate a critical mass of us to get there, and then January is often free for most people. So we could get as many votes as those that want to come. I see. What do we got? There's 6 votes in. So January is the leading horse. So I think we'll target a weekend in January if that's the case. So thanks for your input there.
Eric, are they open weekends or just weekdays?
She sounded pretty open when I'm looking at the response I got. Actually, you know what? Upon closer reading of her email, it says visits throughout the week. So, but that doesn't say weekdays. Evenings are fine as well. But anyway, I will clarify that with the curator and let everybody know. But it looks like January is what we're looking at. Peter, go ahead.
I mean, it's been several years since I've been there, but my last recollection was it's weekdays or weeknights, because that's when they're open, or that's when they're physically there, whereas the plant's down on the weekends, something like that. But
okay.
But you never know.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No, I will clarify and find out. But I guess if it is a weekday, then I don't know if that poses problems for anyone in particular. I suppose Fridays are probably a less busy day for most people on average. So, but anyway, we'll worry about that when the time comes. So, our next meeting is set for 2 weeks from tonight, November 16th. I don't believe there's any topics on the spreadsheet at the moment, Peter. Are there any updates?
Yeah, I believe Ken is good to go in November, and Michael will be in December
on the coal pits.
And that's all we've got on the book. So if anybody's got something in the works for presentations, please let me know for the new year. And okay, is that for January then, Dave? Or a mixer maybe? Whatever.
Yeah, I'm going to have it ready probably end of the week.
Okay, so we can do it at a mixer in December then. Okay. Hey, so the new year forward, we need some presentations.
Okay. Well, very good, gentlemen. Thank you very much for all of your input. And Dave.
Can I throw an invitation out there? I think, something Peter and I had a lengthy conversation about was that the whole matching network in front of the SA 612. If someone would like to do a presentation about that, just about, how that works, why it's needed, what it does, that would be very, very interesting.
Yep.
Okay. Duly noted. All right. So, good night, all. 7-3 is to you. See you.
Right, all. Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
And Peter, you just want to stick around?
Yeah.
Ken, Peter.
Give me a 30-second break and I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sticking around too.
And 73 to all.
Yep. 7-3.
See you, Frank.
7-2 to you, Frank.
Thank you. Yep. QRP forever.
Yep. All right. Good
Yeah,
night.
Ken, you wanted to talk about the DCR?
Yeah,
I don't know if what you saw was answered all your questions. Are you okay with it?
yeah. I had sent an email or two after you